So one story that I wanted, main reason I brought you on is because privately we've had this exact conversation before. And it's not been reported anywhere in the dirt sheets this week because they're too busy being paid by Tony Khan to report what he wants to report. And we'll talk about it if we have time. But this week, Jeff Jarrett was on the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast. And we know, we've spoken about before, that there was a situation where Austin was supposed to work with Jarrett while you were the writer. And Austin in no way, shape, or form wanted to do any business with Jeff. That's what I was led to believe.
Bro, that was, listen, it's more than that, Billy, because I'll be honest with you, bro. That was the only time Steve had heat with me and got mad at me because he thought I was trying to get him in a program with Jeff. And I swear to you, bro, that was the only time in all my time working with him that that Steve ever got upset with me, literally because he thought I was trying to sneak around and get him in a program with Jeff.
Well, have a listen. This is the start of their show. They actually talk about this for 7 or 8 minutes. I'm going to play the first minute where they laugh this off, and then I'm going to kind of tell you where what they say the perceived heat was. It's nothing what me and you have ever discussed, and then we'll talk about what the real situation is and why you think maybe they didn't go into this at all and completely squash this right off the bat.
Everybody, look at the show. What? Hell has froze over. What do you mean hell froze over? Why would hell freeze? You're sitting across the because it's surreal. Stone Cold is spelling Double J's name. I finally arrived. Was this a conversation that you never thought would happen? Because over the past, for I don't know how many years, every year out of when I started my wrestling career in Dallas, Texas, and shortly thereafter I would meet you, and we'd have a lot of matches together in my formative years. So I've known you almost as long as I've been in wrestling. But over the years, for some reason, the stories that go around on the internet and wrestle speak and all that stuff, there's perceived heat between myself and yourself. And I want to clear the air and take it off the table from the get-go. It's fierce. No. But why do you think the rumor was that we're supposed to have? And, I've been... Look, it goes without saying, whether it's on a podcast or... Folks, that was about 20 minutes, 25 minutes before he went out and tore the house down. So I thought about, hey, but you came over to me and we chatted briefly. And I'm like, F it, I'm going to get me a photo with Stone Cold before he goes out. But, we're going back all those years. And look, the essence of our business is people wanting to believe. That's obviously before Twitter and TikTok and everything going on. The internet has kind of just started. But people wanted to latch on, and different stories came out, and there was just real life, but look, they latched onto the story, and it kept growing, and I can't tell you how many interviews I've done and said, man, Stone Cold hates your stinking guts. Why? I'm like, now, I hate my guts? That's pushing a little, anyway, but yeah. Well, we had dinner in Marina Del Rey.
So, yeah, they squashed that right off the bat. They went on to talk about what it might be perceived to. And Steve talks about how he was doing some spot shows for Jerry Jarrett and how he was unbelievably happy that he was getting $100 for a show when it was supposed to be because that was big money back then for a spot show. And how when it actually happened, he ended up getting $60. And Jeff Jarrett walked past him and said, if you look at it, the more you look at it, it ain't going to get any bigger. And then he went to go and speak to Jerry Jarrett about it. And Jerry Jarrett basically said, hey, it wasn't as busy as we expected. And Steve said, oh, well, hopefully you can pay me what you said next time. So that's how they ended up squashing it. And nothing about the 98, 99, anything like that. It was nothing.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something, Billy. Let me tell you something up front. Like when they talk about a hatred, I don't think Stone Cold hated Jeff Jarrett. When we talk about hatred, bro,
that's the internet, Marks.
Yeah, you're talking about, bro. Jim Cornette hates Vince Russo. It wasn't that at all. It wasn't that. This is exactly what it was, bro. And listen, I appreciate. Listen, Jeff. Stone Cold was the one that got hot at Jeff. Jeff was very, very, very apologetic and trying to make it up to Austin. So like even here, Jeff Jeff is the apologetic one because it wasn't Jeff's heat towards Steve. Steve was the one that was hot. And here's exactly what happened. And this hasn't grown over the years because I've told the same exact story, bro, for the last 30 freaking years. And I'll tell you where it stemmed from because Steve told me. I never forgot. But basically what happened, bro, was Jeff came back to WWE when Austin was on top. And he had to cut a promo, and it was like a shoot promo, okay? And, bro, I used to write all Jeff's stuff. All of his stuff. So I wrote the shoot promo for him.
Oh, they both put you over in this interview, by the way. They both said that they like working with you every time they work with you. So I don't know if you want to check it out at some point, but it's definitely in there from both of them.
Yeah. Well, I wrote Jeff's promo, but he put a part in there that I did not write. And the part he put in there was about Austin 3:16, that was blasphemy, because Jeff is a Christian guy. I did not write that. Now, you got to understand with Steve Austin, bro, everything is business and everything is money. And at the time, bro, he was making a load with the Austin 3:16 shirt. So now, Jeff says that. You can go back and look at the promo, bro. He mentions Austin 3:16 being blasphemy. Austin in the back is hot. And that's why he's hot, bro, because in Austin's mind,
that's crazy, bro, they play, as they're running through his career, they play the promo on this episode, and they don't talk about that at all.
Bro, because in Austin's mind, now you're with my money. And he was, bro, Austin was waiting right at the gorilla position for Jeff to come through. And I was there. And, bro, Austin read him the riot act. And, Jeff was just backpedaling. I think Jeff was surprised. Jeff did not think Austin was going to react that way. Austin read him the riot act. And then Austin said to me, don't ever book me with that. I will never work with him. And here's what he told me, bro. And this is where it stemmed from. He told me when he was working for Jarrett, he was living off of boiled potatoes. That's how broke he was, bro. And he never forgot that. And it seemed like now he was kind of transferring that heat to Jeff. But what it was all about, bro, was Austin really felt like, man, this 3:16 is making me a fortune. And now this guy's going to go out there and cost me money. That's what really set him off.
Yeah, they don't go into that at all. They squash the heat early on, and then he talks about how grateful he was for everything he learned working with Jarrett. And then they run through Jeff's career about how when he came back, they talk about how the Double J thing was getting over, but then how it took him a while to find the "don't piss me off" gimmick, and how all the gimmicks in between didn't work until he started working with Owen. He enjoyed working with Owen. But yeah, between that, they were just saying that, there's nothing about it at all. There's nothing about working with Steve. There's nothing about the promo. Why do you think these podcasts that Austin does, these interviews, are very much seen as going behind? They're very credited with going behind the scenes. Like, obviously, when The Undertaker was one of the first ones that he did. It took a break for a while, then it came back, and now it's exclusive on the network. And The Undertaker was one of the big ones, and he even got Jericho on there as well. So this is kind of seen as the main go-to. If you really want to go behind the scenes, if you really want guys to be honest about anything, be it drug problems or who they had heat with who, you go on the Austin show. Do you feel they could have addressed this here, and why didn't they?
Billy, you know why they didn't? I'll tell you exactly why they didn't. And it makes all the sense in the world of everything that I'm telling you. And this is why they didn't. And this is why I don't blame Steve. Bro, he's still selling those shirts. Steve, he's still selling Austin. So I guarantee you, Austin at the beginning of the interview said, we're not going to talk about that. Because if they talk about that specific, Austin is doing damage to his brand like 25 years later. And I guarantee you, bro, that's why it was not discussed. I guarantee you Austin said we're not going to talk about it because he's still selling those shirts.
So here's the last thing I'm going to say about the Steve Austin show. Now, we spoke before, and you've written off that you would ever go in the Hall of Fame because you said they'll never put a writer in. But do you write off you doing this show? Because you're talked about on several episodes.
I would love to do that show. I would love 1,000. I would love to, bro. You know what the funny thing is? Billy, the funny thing is I did Austin's show a couple of times, and Austin loved having me on the show. And I'm gonna give you a little insight, Billy. Like, Austin used to bring me on all the time because I used to be so raw and honest. And like, I would say a lot of the things that he thought and felt, but because he still had an association with the WWE, he couldn't go that far. So he would bring me on the show and I would say those things. So I was on his show a couple of times, bro, but now he's under the WWE umbrella. And it's funny, bro, because, Austin used to have my phone number. We used to talk, but I've changed my phone number. You know what I mean? So, bro, when somebody told me that he put me over on that show, I DM'd him and I said, Steve, anytime you mention my name, it's good for business. And I really, really, really want to thank you. So I appreciate that. So he wrote me back right away and said, bro, that was some of the best times of my life. Really good times. Hope everything's going well with you. But never brought up about me being on the show again. Well, bro, that's because it's under the WWE umbrella now. And they would never allow me to be on that show and speak honestly.
Yeah, I don't know if I completely agree because I feel there's plenty of chances to edit your name out. But
that's true.
It wasn't edited. This is not a live show. It wasn't edited out of this show. And it wasn't edited out when Chris Jericho was saying that Russo came up with the entire way that I was going to come in and told me exactly how we were going to do it. And Jericho was able to go on and say that. And I would feel that, they would say, don't mention Chris Benoit, don't mention Vince Russo. It's easy. Like no one talks about Benoit. I mean, there's a lot of Jericho and Benoit were basically as close as you can be. So I mean,
but Billy, I think mentioning me and having me on, God, bro, that's two different things, don't you think, bro?
They're still milking the Attitude Era for everything they can.
Oh yeah.
To have somebody on that wrote it, I think is an interview that people would want to see. I mean, I'm not talking about on Steve's show. I'm talking under the WWE umbrella. I agree with you. Hall of Fame is far-fetched because they would have to then say, hey, like what our best era wasn't solely down to us, which is how they want you, which is what they want you to think. They want that Vince wants you to think that he was the reason for that, and that's understandable. But in terms of coming on and talking on that show, I don't think it's that far-fetched. Yeah. So yeah.